This episode of the New Medical Nomads podcast is brought to you by Nomadicare. Now, personally, I love Nomadicare. I've used Nomadicare, and I recommend the company to all new travelers. What Nomadicare does is it takes the fear out of getting set up with a bad recruiter, which is the biggest fear that you have jumping into this journey. So they sit down, they interview recruiters, they vet them, get them on a list, and then provide them to you as a free service, as a free recruiter matchmaking service in order to get you started on your journey. Now, usually you only get 2 recruiters going through Nomadicare, but being a listener of the show, you can get 3. So this is how it's going to work. You go to nomadicare.com/Dylan. You will get set up with 3 recruiters to be on your dream team, as well as a guide to get you started on your journey.
Hey Nomad, this is Dylan, and I'll be coming at you from Thailand and Bali. But welcome to a series of blogs that have helped me along my journeys, along getting started and being a medical traveler. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the New Medical Nomads podcast. I am your host, Dr. Dylan Callier, and you are listening to another episode of the blogger series, the blog series, where I'm reading blogs that have really impacted me along my journey and bringing them to you guys in an audible format, in an audio format that you can listen to in your car. But as always, the information in these bloggers are going to be in the show notes. I'm going to be giving them shout outs as well. And you can always find them there, but I highly recommend going back to the sources. And a lot of the sources that I'm bringing up are ones that I visit regularly. So I highly recommend them. But this one is by ptadventures.com, and it's written by Stephen Stockhausen. If you haven't written or read anything that he's written, it is very, very good. And Steve consistently puts out quality content, and he's a very quality writer. And I enjoy this one because there's a bit of humor in it as well. But this one is titled How Getting Fired Helped Me to Get Every Job I've Applied For Since. And it's basically a story about him getting fired for the most ridiculous reason. Well, we're going to get into that, and there's 2 big lessons that he learned at the end of it. And I enjoyed this blog so much. So here's the story, setting the scene. Let's see if I can work on my storytelling. Steve, can I see you in the Pendleton room for a quick chat? Oh, and Haley, I'm going to need you to join us as well as a witness. Uh-oh, this can't be good. I had been working at a pretentious country club for the past few months, serving Central Ohio's elite and setting up banquets that carried price tags of multiple times my current or future annual income. In my brief time there, I had learned all of the ins and outs of the job and ascended into the role of team lead. But this meeting was out of the blue. What could I have done wrong? I wondered. Wandering awkwardly into the center of the gaudy banquet hall, adorned in cream and gold floral moldings, Jennifer, my mid-40s boss with hair better suited for a Texas dive bar, turned to us, well, me really, and with a pseudo-sympathetic look said, "So Steve, we have some concerns regarding your performance here and are thinking that this might not be the right place for you." "What do you mean?" I stammered, clearly confused and feeling blindsided. "Well, there are just some performance concerns that we have," she inadequately explained. "Yes, you said that, but what exactly do you mean? I am a team lead. Does my team not like me? Are we not getting good reviews? We work with less staff than any other team and still serve the biggest groups. Have I been doing something wrong?" My bewilderment fueling a peppering of questions. "Well, for one thing, you walk too slow." "Wait, what?" I blurted out indignantly, waiting too briefly for her to respond. "What do you mean I walk too slow?" "You walk too slow. Our members pay nearly $100,000 a year to be here. They want to feel like we are working hard for them. When you are in the clubhouse, you do not look like you're working very hard. So I'm not doing anything wrong. My team is doing just fine. But because I make the job look too easy in front of the members, you're letting me go?" "Well, now that I hear this all out loud, I think letting you go might be taking things a bit too far." She was beginning to gain some perspective on the ridiculousness of the situation. "I think maybe we could work something out. We could pass the team lead position to Kevin, and you could watch him for a while before you jump back in." She was smiling now, clearly impressed with herself for coming up with such a plan on the fly. Kevin had been there half the time I had. Kevin was a kiss-ass who was patronizing to our already patronizing members, but sucked up to the managers and snagged all the best shifts. Kevin wore a fake pasted grin that everyone mocked behind his back and needed punching. I was not going to work under Kevin. You know what? Y'all can keep the job. I think this is ridiculous. Good luck to you. And then turned and quickly took off my fake tuxedo vest, fake cufflinks, and fake nearly everything. See-through tuxedo shirt and walked through the door. Little did I know the situation would teach me 2 immensely valuable lessons about business. Reading the story, it's pretty funny because I've also worked in a situation where I was in a position where I was fired for basically the perception, right? Your perception of how you come across. And I think it's so important to realize that perception is a big deal. And you can play to it how you want, right? Because you can look at it and it's like, oh, well, I don't want to be fake. And that's definitely not what I'm saying. Don't be a fake person. Don't be a fake traveler. Don't show up to jobs and be somebody you're not. If you're an introvert and you're kind of like reserved, you might want to push yourself a little bit more to talk to people, but you don't have to be this bouncing person, cheerleader that walks in and tries to get everybody amped up. Same thing. If you are an extrovert and you radiate energy, you might be a little off-putting at first, but you don't necessarily have to be like, the grounded decision maker, always constant energy levels if that's not your person. So don't be fake, but your perception is important. And so for my story, I was working at a bakery. And I worked at this bakery for 3 months. There were times where I was working at night, frying the donuts. So I guess I was more of a fryer than a baker. But when I was during school, I couldn't work during the nights. And so I would go there during the day and I would help the customers. I would sell the donuts to the customers. And the perception of me from my manager was that, and the reason that I got a phone call in order to fire me was because they said, "Oh, Dylan, I'm actually glad you picked up. I wanted to talk to you about some complaints that we've been getting about you." It's like, "Oh, well, how come?" She said, "Well, you clean too much." I was like, "Wait, what? I clean too much?" And she's like, "Yeah, you don't spend enough time with the customers and you're always cleaning." So for my perception, I was trying to say, stay busy. If there was somebody else helping a customer, I would go off and I would do something else. But because I didn't take the time to be a little bit more warm and to approach those customers and to always be seen talking with somebody, I would go and clean instead. And so that being so funny now because I'm all about customer service and all about taking care of my patients. And such a interesting thing for me to look back on now. But perception is such a big deal, and can change people's ideas about it. And I think that's so important with being empathetic about realizing that even mine, if I look at somebody and they're always hustling, similar to Steve's situation, if they are walking fast, you do come across like, "Oh, he's busy," or "Oh, she's busy." But it also looks like I can't approach you because you're too busy. And so it kind of depends on what they're wanting from you. And I think that's also a good reason to really understand what your role is within that first job. I always say during my interviews that I am here to take care of the patients first, and I am here to step into your clinics, your hospitals, your facilities, systems second. So number one, take care of the patients. Number two, set in their systems. And then also number three, especially for outpatient therapy, for those that are in it with me, keeping those relationships strong, keeping the communication up between the people and the referral sources and things like that. So those are the three things I talk about with those interviews. But the perception is that you want to make sure that you're taking care of the patients first. And then also that you want to fit in their systems, that you're not coming in as a consultant, that you're not trying to change things unless they're ready for it, that you are there to wear the to wear the cape and to save the day. So the two business lessons from this story and about Kevin. I love the description of Kevin. Lesson number one, it is not all about you. I, like most of you reading this, have been a rather high achiever my entire life. I take pride in being efficient and effective in every situation. I even derive a large chunk of my self-esteem, for better or for worse, on the results that I produce. Despite what we would all like to believe, rarely do employers exclusively care about clinical results. If this was the case, every AOMT fellow, every certified clinical specialist would be snatched up long before other PTs would be hired. However, every day there are specialists that are passed up for jobs and fellowship-trained clinicians that are skipped by. What matters to an employer is how you can help them fix their specific need. My productivity as a team lead at the country club was impressive, but it was not filling the precise need of the company, which was catering to members who wanted the premier level service that they were paying for. As a clinic director myself, I passed on some terrific clinicians because I was seeking out a very specific skill set to meet the needs of our company. Not everyone could manage a satellite clinic, often single-handedly and in rural Alaska, while also running community engagement events back in town, on top of treating patients in both locations. Interviewing for a job is about demonstrating how you are the answer to their problems. Coming in with a laundry list of credentials is nice, but if you can uncover what their specific problem is and show how you are perfect PT for the job, how you are the perfect healthcare practitioner, how you are the perfect nomad for the job, the position is yours for the taking. Number two, perception is reality. What I had failed to realize in my youth was that while seemingly petty, the perception of my work ethic was just as important as the work ethic itself. Country club members pay a premium for premium service. If they do not feel like they are receiving that level of service, they are likely to take their membership and thousands of dollars to a club elsewhere. Members do not care about my behind-the-scenes work. Members care about what impacts them directly. Whether interviewing for a job or working with patients, managing how you are perceived is an essential part of success. Professional, personal appearance, a confident tone of voice, and self-assured body language are all to be stacked on top of great interview skills. Empathetic tones, a calming and educating demeanor, and empowering and reassuring statements are equally important to patient success as the intervention performed. Just as a patient's perception of relative danger ratchets pain values up or down, a patient's and employer's perception of you and your professionalism will have a similar effect. Taking time to step back and observe yourself from other people's perspective will help you to learn to be more adaptive. And something that I have been taught by Steve that really rang home for me was that value does not mean value. The perception of value is value. So you can work on your clinical skills. You can do all these things. And if you're not able to communicate and show that value, then the value isn't there. So you must be an excellent clinician and also an excellent communicator of what you're going to accomplish for them. And so that's very important to pick up on the interview. Some questions you can ask is, oh, have you had travelers before? What is something that they struggled with? Because if somebody's already kind of, failed to recognize what the clinic was really looking for or what the hospital was looking for, maybe they're really big on team membership. Maybe the congruency with the team is really what they're after. That's awesome. Or if you're stepping into one of these places with really high productivity. Maybe they just had a traveler before that wasn't able to really cut and see the numbers that needed to be seen, that they're looking to step into the clinic, that they're looking to step into the hospital. So it's very important to know, what are their problems? What are they trying to solve when you come in? It's pretty straightforward being a nomad, being a medical professional. Again, always treating the patients first. And then this would be more of that second question, trying to figure out what their systems are so that you can step in. The documentation, the group dynamics, the people they communicate with on a regular basis, special things like that. And then 2, perception. So if you were going to have these interviews, if you want to be a rock star interview and not have to worry, you have to be good at communicating what your value is, knowing how to aim your values, your skill set, the things that you're good at, into what they're looking for. So if you're a very warm personality, you're going to be very good to step into a group dynamic. If you have worked at those clinics before with really high volumes and you really want this job, being able to communicate, the numbers that you saw and how that impacted patient care and how you were able to, juggle several patients at once and still make sure that they all felt that they were getting the best care and that they were getting the attention and that they were receiving what they needed in order to get healthy. So I really enjoyed this blog. Thank you so much to Stephen Stockhausen for writing this, and definitely go check out ptadventures.com for PT specific blogs as well. This one was a very general blog, and I liked it a lot, but it's again called How Getting Fired Helped Me to Get Every Job I've Applied For. But Nomads, if you were looking for the next official launch of these episodes, you can catch them at the New Medical Nomads podcast Facebook page. If you have a question for me or Steve, who's been on the show before, or his wife, Ellen, and their amazing family, you can reach out to them on the New Medical Nomads Facebook group. And if you want the early access to these episodes, you can go to YouTube. You can find us on iTunes and Spotify. And thank you so much, guys, who do engage, who give the likes, who give the hearts, who subscribe, who review us. All those engagements help us reach more people and allow good information like this to get out to the people that need it, which is ultimately the goal of this podcast and ultimately the goal of the show. So thank you so much, guys, for your engagement. It means the world to me, and everybody have safe travels.